Authentic love is not loud. It does not announce itself through grand promises or dramatic gestures. Instead, it reveals itself quietly through consistency, presence, and psychological truth. When a man feels authentic love for you, his behavior is no longer driven by fear, performance, or the need to possess. It is driven by recognition. He does not love an idea of you. He loves you as you are, including the parts that are unfinished, wounded, or still becoming. You will notice that he does not try to reshape you to fit his expectations. Authentic love does not dominate, it allows. He is not threatened by your independence, your depth, or your emotional complexity. Instead, he becomes curious. Your thoughts, silences, and emotions feel meaningful to him, not inconvenient. He listens not to respond, but to understand, because your inner world now matters as much as his own. When a man loves authentically, he no longer projects his unresolved wounds onto you. He takes responsibility for his shadows, instead of asking you to heal them for him. This love is grounded in self-awareness. He recognizes that intimacy is not fusion, but conscious connection. You are not there to complete him. You walk beside him as a whole person meeting another whole person. You will feel safe in his presence, not because life becomes perfect, but because you are not required to perform or pretend. There is emotional honesty. He can sit with discomfort without withdrawing or becoming defensive. Conflict does not feel like a threat to the relationship, but an opportunity for growth. He does not disappear when things become difficult, because love for him is not an escape. It is a commitment to truth. Authentic love is revealed in how he protects your dignity, even when you are not there. He speaks of you with respect. He does not use your vulnerability as leverage, nor does he test your loyalty through manipulation. Instead, he chooses you daily, not out of obligation, but out of alignment. Being with you feels like home, not a battlefield or performance stage. Most importantly, his love awakens something in you rather than diminishes you. You feel more yourself, not less. There is expansion, not contraction. Authentic love does not cage the soul, it strengthens it. When a man truly loves you, his presence becomes a place where you are seen, accepted, and emotionally safe enough to grow. Authentic love does not seek an audience. It does not need to be proven, displayed, or constantly validated through words and gestures meant to impress. It exists in the quiet spaces where attention is steady and presence is sincere. This kind of love is not built on performance, because performance is born from insecurity and the desire to be seen as something other than what one truly is. Authentic love, by contrast, begins when the need to impress dissolves and recognition takes its place. It is the moment when one person sees another clearly and chooses to remain. Consistency is one of its most revealing qualities. Not consistency driven by obligation or fear of loss, but a natural steadiness that arises when affection is aligned with inner truth. A man who loves authentically does not fluctuate between intensity and distance. His care does not disappear when circumstances become uncomfortable or when admiration is no longer guaranteed. Instead, his presence remains even in ordinary moments, because his attachment is not dependent on excitement or validation. Love, for him, is not an event but a state of being. Deep recognition lies at the heart of this love. It is the ability to see another person beyond roles, appearances, and projections. Rather than falling in love with an idealized image, he responds to the reality in front of him. This recognition includes both strengths and vulnerabilities, light and shadow. He does not turn away when flaws appear, nor does he attempt to fix or reshape what he sees. Acceptance replaces control, and understanding replaces judgment. In being seen this way, a person feels real rather than evaluated. Because authentic love is not a performance, it is free from manipulation. There is no need to create drama to sustain connection or to withhold affection as a form of power. Communication becomes honest, even when honesty is uncomfortable. Silence is not used as punishment, and words are not used as weapons. This love values truth over advantage, and emotional integrity over temporary harmony. It allows both people to exist without fear of sudden withdrawal or conditional affection. Quiet love also carries a sense of emotional safety, not because pain is absent, but because there is no constant anticipation of abandonment or rejection. In this space, vulnerability is not risky, it is welcomed. One does not feel the need to perform happiness, strength, or perfection to remain loved. Instead, there is permission to be human. This safety nurtures growth, because growth requires the freedom to be imperfect without losing connection. In the presence of authentic love, the nervous system relaxes. The mind is no longer occupied with decoding mixed signals or chasing reassurance. What remains is a grounded sense of being chosen without spectacle. This love does not shout its devotion, yet it is deeply felt. It does not demand attention, yet it commands trust. Through its quiet consistency and deep recognition, authentic love reveals itself not as something dramatic, but as something profoundly real. When a man accepts your wholeness, he does not approach you as a project to be improved or a puzzle to be solved. He meets you as you are, recognizing that your personality, emotions, values, and contradictions form a complete human being rather than a collection of flaws. This acceptance is not passive tolerance, but active respect. He understands that love does not grant him authority over your identity, and that intimacy is not a license to rewrite another person's nature. Such acceptance reveals itself in the absence of control. He does not monitor your choices, restrict your expression, or subtly pressure you to become more convenient for him. Your independence does not threaten him because he does not equate love with possession. Instead of needing to manage you, he trusts you. This trust allows you to move freely in your own life without fear of emotional punishment, jealousy disguised as concern, or approval that must be constantly earned. A man who loves authentically understands that trying to reshape you would only create distance. Control may produce compliance, but it never produces connection. When someone attempts to mold another into an ideal, they are not relating to a person, but to a fantasy. Authentic love rejects this fantasy. It chooses reality, even when reality is complex, emotionally layered, or inconvenient. He stays present not because you fit perfectly into his expectations, but because he values the truth of who you are. This acceptance extends to your emotional world. He does not demand that you feel less, think less deeply, or silence parts of yourself to maintain peace. Your emotions are not seen as burdens to be managed, but signals to be understood. He listens without rushing to correct or minimize your experience. In doing so, he communicates a powerful message. Your inner world is valid, and you do not need to edit yourself to be loved. When wholeness is accepted, growth happens naturally rather than through pressure. You may still evolve, change, and heal, but these changes arise from self-awareness, not coercion. He supports your becoming without dictating the direction. There is encouragement without expectation, guidance without dominance. This balance creates a relationship where transformation feels safe rather than forced, and intimacy deepens without sacrificing individuality. In such love, boundaries are respected rather than challenged. He understands that saying no does not mean withdrawal of affection, and disagreement does not signal disconnection. Your autonomy remains intact, and your sense of self grows stronger rather than smaller. You feel met, not managed, accepted, not adjusted. In being loved this way, you are allowed to stand fully in yourself, knowing that love does not require you to be anything other than who you already are. When a man takes responsibility for his inner wounds, love becomes a place of clarity rather than confusion. He does not arrive in the relationship expecting you to compensate for his past pain, nor does he treat intimacy as a means of escaping unresolved suffering. Instead, he recognizes that his emotional history belongs to him. This awareness creates a crucial separation between what he feels now and what was once done to him, allowing the present relationship to exist without the weight of old injuries. Projection occurs when unhealed wounds are unconsciously placed onto another person. In such cases, you are no longer seen as yourself, but as a stand-in for past disappointments, betrayals, or neglect. A man who loves authentically resists this impulse. When fear arises, he looks inward rather than assigning blame. He asks himself what has been triggered instead of accusing you of causing the pain. This self-reflection prevents unnecessary conflict and protects the emotional integrity of the bond. Taking responsibility for inner wounds does not mean emotional isolation or silence. It means honest ownership. He can say that something hurts without implying that you are the source of that hurt. He can express insecurity without turning it into control. Jealousy, when it appears, is examined rather than acted upon. In this way, his emotions become information, not weapons. You are invited into his inner world without being made responsible for fixing it. This kind of responsibility creates emotional safety. You are no longer walking on uncertain ground, unsure whether a small action will awaken a disproportionate reaction. His responses are measured, not reactive. When misunderstandings occur, they are addressed with curiosity rather than defensiveness. He understands that intensity does not equal truth, and that strong emotions often point to internal work rather than external fault. A man who carries his own wounds consciously does not see completion through you. He does not rely on your reassurance to maintain his sense of worth, nor does he collapse when approval is absent. This independence does not reduce intimacy, it strengthens it. Because he is not using the relationship to stabilize his identity, he can meet you as an equal. Love becomes a choice rather than a dependency, a shared space rather than an emotional rescue mission. Over time, this responsibility fosters maturity within the relationship. Conflicts become moments of insight instead of cycles of repetition. Growth occurs through understanding rather than suffering. You are not burdened with roles you did not choose, and he remains accountable for his own healing. In such a dynamic, love feels grounded and real because it is built on self-awareness. By facing his inner wounds rather than projecting them, he allows the relationship to be shaped by truth instead of the past. When emotional safety and honesty are present, conflict no longer feels like a threat to the bond, but a moment that reveals its strength. Disagreement does not signal abandonment, nor does tension become a weapon. Instead, conflict is approached as a shared experience rather than a battle to be won. In this space, both people remain emotionally available, even when feelings are strained, because connection is not withdrawn as punishment. Emotional safety shows itself in how a man stays present when emotions intensify. He does not disappear, shut down, or turn cold when conversations become uncomfortable. Avoidance is replaced with steadiness. Even when he feels misunderstood or triggered, he remains grounded enough to listen. His tone may reflect emotion, but it does not cross into contempt or cruelty. This presence communicates that the relationship is secure enough to withstand honesty. Honesty during conflict does not mean bluntness without care. It is the ability to speak truth without the intention to wound. A man who loves authentically expresses his needs and boundaries clearly, without disguising fear as anger or control. He does not distort facts to protect his ego, nor does he rewrite events to escape accountability. When he is wrong, he can admit it without seeing it as weakness. Responsibility becomes a bridge rather than a threat. In emotionally safe conflict, vulnerability is allowed on both sides. Feelings are not dismissed or minimized. Pain is acknowledged rather than debated. There is a willingness to ask questions instead of making assumptions, to understand rather than to dominate. Silence, when it occurs, is used to reflect rather than to punish. Words are chosen with awareness of their impact, because the goal is connection, not victory. This environment reduces fear. You are not bracing for emotional retaliation or sudden withdrawal of affection. You are free to express discomfort without worrying that it will destabilize the relationship. Your voice does not need to be softened to be accepted, nor sharpened to be heard. Emotional honesty flows both ways, creating a rhythm of openness that strengthens trust over time. Conflict handled this way becomes transformative rather than destructive. It exposes patterns, reveals unmet needs, and deepens mutual understanding. Instead of accumulating resentment, issues are brought into the open where they can be addressed consciously. Growth occurs not by avoiding tension, but by moving through it together with respect intact. When emotional safety and honesty coexist during conflict, love matures. It shifts from fragile to resilient. The relationship is no longer held together by silence or fear, but by the confidence that truth will not break the bond. In this kind of love, conflict does not erode intimacy. It refines it, allowing both people to remain real, present, and emotionally connected even in moments of strain. When a man protects your dignity, his respect does not depend on your presence or your ability to witness it. It exists as an internal value rather than a performance shaped by observation. He understands that love is not only demonstrated through affection shown to you directly, but also through the way he holds your name, your story, and your vulnerability when you are not there to defend yourself. This quiet loyalty reveals the depth of his character far more than public gestures ever could. Respect in your absence means he does not participate in conversations that diminish you. He does not joke at your expense to gain approval, nor does he reveal your private moments for entertainment or sympathy. Your struggles, fears, and confessions are treated as sacred rather than currency. He recognizes that intimacy creates responsibility and that protecting your dignity is part of honoring the bond you share. Even when others criticize or misunderstand you, he does not join in to belong. This protection becomes especially meaningful during moments of conflict or emotional distance. When disagreements arise, he does not rewrite your character to justify his frustration. He speaks about issues without attacking your identity. There is a clear distinction between addressing a problem and disrespecting a person. By maintaining this boundary, he ensures that temporary emotions do not permanently damage your sense of worth. A man who respects you in your absence also guards the image of you he carries within himself. He does not allow resentment to turn into contempt. Instead of nurturing negative narratives, he reflects on his own reactions and seeks understanding. This internal discipline prevents emotional erosion. It allows love to remain intact even when circumstances are challenging, because respect acts as a stabilizing force. Such protection communicates safety. You are not anxious about what is said when you leave the room, nor do you fear being misrepresented when you are vulnerable. There is trust that your name is spoken with care. This trust creates emotional ease, allowing you to be open without constantly self-protecting. Knowing that your dignity is preserved gives a relationship depth and security. Respect shown in absence is also a form of integrity. It reflects alignment between values and behavior. His actions remain consistent regardless of who is watching. This consistency builds credibility and strengthens emotional intimacy. You are not valued conditionally or situationally, but steadily and quietly. In this kind of love, dignity is never sacrificed for convenience, validation, or momentary relief. Protection is not loud, but it is firm. Through this steady respect, even when you are not present, love becomes something you can trust. When his love helps you become more yourself, it does not ask you to shrink, soften, or abandon parts of who you are to maintain harmony. Instead, it creates an environment where your natural qualities are welcomed rather than negotiated. You feel no pressure to dilute your thoughts, mute your emotions, or reshape your ambitions to be more acceptable. His presence affirms your identity rather than competing with it, allowing you to stand more firmly in your own truth. This kind of love feels expansive. You notice that your confidence grows instead of erodes. Your voice becomes clearer, not quieter. You feel encouraged to express ideas, desires, and boundaries without fearing emotional consequences. Rather than question yourself more, you trust yourself more. His support does not come in the form of direction or control, but in reassurance that you are capable of choosing your own path. When love is authentic, it does not replace your sense of self with dependence. You do not lose touch with your values, passions, or inner compass. Instead of organizing your life around maintaining the relationship integrates naturally into the life you are already building. He does not become the center that everything revolves around. He becomes a steady presence that strengthens what already exists within you. You also notice that your emotional world feels more accessible. You are not constantly managing reactions or anticipating disapproval. This freedom allows deeper self-awareness to emerge. You become more honest with yourself because you are not required to perform emotional roles. Your vulnerability feels safe, not exposed. In being accepted, you discover parts of yourself that may have been hidden under self-protection or doubt. His love supports growth without urgency. Change is not demanded or rushed. You evolve because you feel supported, not because you feel inadequate. When challenges arise, he does not imply that your struggles make you harder to love. Instead, he remains present, reinforcing the belief that you are worthy even while growing. This steadiness allows transformation to feel natural rather than forced. In this dynamic, individuality is not seen as distance. Your need for solitude, creativity, or personal exploration is respected. He understands that closeness does not require constant merging. By honoring your autonomy, he strengthens the bond rather than weakening it. You remain connected without losing yourself, intimate without becoming absorbed. Over time, this love restores rather than depletes. You feel more aligned with your instincts, more connected to your desires, and more comfortable in your own skin. The relationship becomes a place where your essence is mirrored back to you with clarity. In loving you, he does not take something away. He gives space, safety, and recognition, allowing you to become more fully who you have always been. And when all of these signs come together, love no longer feels confusing or heavy. It feels grounding. You are not losing yourself to be loved, nor are you carrying what does not belong to you. You are met with presence, respect, and emotional truth. This is how love reveals its authenticity, not through intensity or control, but through steadiness, safety, and mutual growth. When a man loves in this way, you do not feel smaller or uncertain. You feel seen, supported, and free to become who you truly are.